The deep visibility query we utilized for the example here is a very broad one. And as you can see, we've brought back 2,000 of 2,000 results, which means there's probably more data out there that we can gather. So let's first look at saying, all right, let's look at 20,000 results. This query takes a little bit longer to run, obviously, for there's more results to return. However, we quickly find out that here we are, we've hit our head again. We've got 20,000 of 20,000 results, and we may need to make our query better in order to find more specific information. There are two ways that we can limit the information that we are seeing on the screen. The first way is to modify the query itself. So in other words, if I were to add more terms here by using either and or, then I could reduce the total number of records being returned overall. If, however, the number of records is satisfactory, then we can actually limit things based on the fields themselves. Notice we've got several different funnels here in different fields. You'll note that not every column has a funnel. There are a few, such as source process related to threat, the event time field, and the source process start time field do not have actual funnels available for you to filter the data. However, everyone with a funnel, you can filter the data. So for example, if I wanted to filter the types of objects that we're looking at, or the event types, I click on the funnel, and it gives you a listing of every event type that is in existence in your list. And as I scroll down, the list will automatically grow. And eventually I will get a non-duplicating list of every event type brought back in these 20,000 records. If I clear all of the checkboxes, I can then check off specific items I'd like to investigate. For example, I want to look at all process creations, all IP connections, and all command scripts. So if I click on apply here, I've now limited my view to only the object types I checked off. So here are the IP connections. If I scroll down, here are my process creations. And if I wanted to sort them in an order, I can click on the up-down arrows, and this would then gather all of them together. Here's all the command scripts, followed by all the IP connect objects, followed by all the process creation objects. Now, obviously, there are 375 results being shown at this point. Out of that, only 100 are actually on the screen at this moment. So with my filter that I've created, only 375 of the 20,000 original results are actually being shown on the screen at this time. The issue with this isn't so far as the fact that we can filter on the screen. This is actually very useful. But the problem is that there could be more command script objects and more IP connect objects out there that didn't manage to get into the original list of 20,000. So by limiting it to 375 results on the screen, I did not modify the number of events that got returned. And since my all events is equal to 20,000 and my max results is 20,000, there's a very good chance that those numbers aren't equal. There's probably many more actual results than 20,000 for the last 48 hours. If I need to reduce the amount of records to get below the max results, I need to add to the query. Now, that's simple. I mean, all you have to do really is type in a space and then say and then put in something different to add in a new function. However, there are some shortcuts you can take based on the information you're viewing on the screen. For example, if I wanted to specifically look at only command script event types, notice when I put my mouse over this, I get a purple circle. If I check that purple circle off, a purple box appears in the lower right-hand corner of the screen. That purple box talks about the one thing that I have selected, in this case, the event type command script. If I wanted to select something else, I could scroll down a little further and I can left click on IP Connect. And as you can see now, it has added the IP Connect to the items selected. Now that I've got two items selected, if I click on the ellipsis in this box, I can choose what to do with this. I can say add these selected values. In other words, what they're saying is add these selected values to the query. Or I could say exclude these selected values. In other words, still add it to the query, but I don't want the results from those things. Or I can create an entirely new query based just on those two things. For now, I'm going to choose to add selected values. Note we get an and then we have an event type function. This is the field that we're looking for. And it automatically puts in the in operand and then lists off the things that we wanted to put in. So now if I click on the search button, I'm going to see where the name exists and the event type is either command script or IP Connect. Notice now that I only have 577 results out of the possible 20,000. With this query, I have actually reduced the total overall number of events that I've called back from deep visibility. And in this case, there's going to be more things that I actually can see. Before, if I would have clicked on endpoint name, I would have only seen the first endpoint name, DV example 1223, because there were more than 20,000 events specifically from 1223, so we didn't have anything from 1224. But the moment I limit this down to a smaller number of records, I was able to load all of these specific records from not only 1223, but from 1224 as well. Generally, when you are creating queries, it is best practice to make sure that you at least come in under the max results, because this will tell you that you are actually getting back all of the data that you're expecting to get back. And there's no hidden fields or hidden information that you may not be actually looking at. This can become a very important thing whenever you're expecting to find specific types of data out there on the network and your query is too broad. Then you go and you look and you say, oh, wait, I didn't actually see this. And then you'll find that, of course, it just never got to that record before it hit 20,000 hits and simply didn't return it to you. I can still further reduce this by clicking on other filters. So if I wanted to be more specific about the particular command I wanted to find, I could actually use the purple circle again, or I could filter by the filter here, and it shows me all of the different commands that were run, and I can actually then have it tell me specifically which ones I want to look at. So for example, this one looks interesting. So why don't we look at all of the commands that include this particular file? And I've limited it down to just one. And we can then inspect this file a little bit more closely to figure out what it is, where it is, and what's going on with this file. In this case, this is a malicious file, and it's going to do malicious things on the system. The final way you can limit the amount of information on the screen is to choose a particular type of object. As you can see, there are 577 total events. 486 of them are network actions and 91 of them are command scripts. If I simply click on network actions, it'll limit it to the 486 network actions in that list. The other thing that's interesting to note is when you do that, it does change the available columns. If you look on the extreme right-hand side, let me first If you look on the extreme right-hand side under the All Events tab, you'll note that there is an Attributes field. As we discussed earlier, individual attributes or individual objects have specific data that they pool that nothing else pools. So to prevent us from actually having to deal with having lots and lots of empty columns, we have the Attributes field. So these are the attributes for the network actions. And if I scroll down, let me put this in a different order. So here are attributes for IP events or network actions. As you can see, it's showing us the source IP, source destination IP, and so on. As you can see, when we are looking at network events, we have the source port IP address, destination port IP, and various attributes that are associated with a network action, where if you have the command script, it shows the script itself. Obviously, we didn't want to have lots and lots of blank fields, so we created the attributes field to take care of that. However, if I were to select command scripts, note that the attributes field goes away and the appropriate fields for the command script appear as actual fields. Therefore, we can actually sort and filter on those individual fields under command script where you really aren't able to sort and filter on the attributes field. Again, with network actions, same concept. The individual fields are listed out for the network actions.